Can you even remember? The Sphere was once the ultimate spectacle, the pilgrimage every soul in Vegas was desperate to make. It was a place that boasted of hosting over 17,000 spectators, night after agonizing night, with crowds willing to bleed their wallets dry. Hundreds, even thousands of dollars for a single ticket. But now, look closer. The spectacle is a hollow shell. The seats are becoming a graveyard of empty promises. In the blink of an eye, less than a year, this supposed beacon of the future has morphed into a monument of absolute failure. That colossal 18,000-seat auditorium, it's bleeding attendees. Those tickets, once scalped for over $1,000, have vanished from the market, and the frantic lines of tourists, they've evaporated into the desert air. This marvel, once arrogantly hailed as the zenith of human technology, is now hemorrhaging hundreds of millions of dollars in silence. A gaping financial wound threatening to drag the entire city down with it. Celebrated as the peak of American ingenuity, it's now nothing more than a spectral monument in the barren desert. A hollow place where the promise of light and technology and obscene luxury have utterly failed to conjure any real magic. Today, we rip back the curtain and expose what truly went wrong with the Sphere. From its delusional $2.3 billion dream to save Las Vegas, to the cataclysmic collapse that crowned it the most expensive phantom in the city's history. It all began on the 4th of July, 2023. While fireworks screamed across the American sky in a hollow celebration of independence, Las Vegas was birthing its own monument to hubris. This wasn't just some national holiday. It was the dawn of a supposed new dream. The Sphere, a staggering $2.3 billion bauble, hailed as the miracle that would resurrect Vegas's faded glory. And for a fleeting, deceptive moment, it seemed the city of blinding neon had found its soul again, at a time when both hope and tourists were fleeing Sin City in droves. Even from its conception, the Sphere was cynically marketed as Vegas's post-pandemic resurrection. The project was strategically, almost predatorily placed right next to the Venetian Resort, one of the planet's most opulent and frequented resorts, squatting on land off Sands Avenue, a mere stone's throw from the Las Vegas Boulevard. This placement wasn't just to blend in with the city's chaotic pulse. It was designed to greedily siphon the rivers of tourists pouring from iconic behemoths like the Mirage, Wynn, Encore, Treasure Island, and Caesar's Palace. There it stands, an alien presence in the stark Nevada desert, a monstrous 112-meter-tall orb cloaked in LED scales, glowing with an eerie, unnatural light each night, a false moon for a false city. They gave it so many names in their arrogance. The Moon of Vegas, the Eye of America. Some even quipped it looked like a reckless summer fantasy cooked up by Phineas and Ferb, a joke that now hits far too close to home. And just as they planned, upon its grand, deceptive opening, the Sphere ignited a global firestorm of manufactured hype. In a matter of days, social media became a cesspool of recycled images. A gargantuan moon, a colossal, unblinking eye staring down at the city, or grotesque, man-eating minions plastered across its garish LED skin. From the mindless scrolling of TikTok to the vanity of Instagram, millions of shares propelled the Sphere into becoming the most vapidly discussed structure in the entire US that summer. Thousands of tourists swarmed the perimeter, content to snap photos of the shell, never bothering to pay and see what was inside. The revenue from its LED skin was astronomical, quickly hitting $450,000. For a single 4-hour ad campaign with bookings sold out for the entire first quarter. But the true delusion of success, the peak of the mania, was undoubtedly U2's inaugural performance. U2:UV Octum Baby Live unleashed a seismic shockwave through Vegas. A staggering 40 performances sold out in mere days. A frenzy that saw over 700,000 tickets devoured by the masses at an obscene average price of $400 to $1,000. Attendees gushed, claiming they were transported to another universe where sound, image, and manufactured emotion all blurred into a single, overwhelming spectacle. "Vegas is back," they screamed. Hotels near the Venetian were packed to the rafters, taxis choked the streets, and tourism revenue skyrocketed. For that one blinding moment, the Sphere wasn't just a structure, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy of greed. They believed the future of entertainment had returned, draped in all its gaudy glory. It was nothing like the cursed Fontainebleau, another project born in the same year, but plagued by endless disasters. No, the Sphere was seen as a charmed vessel, a beacon of luck and unearned prosperity. It infected Vegas with a dangerous hope, a delusion that the city had stumbled upon a second miracle, capable of salvaging its tarnished reputation and restoring a long-lost confidence. But the illusion, like all magic tricks, was fleeting. The magic didn't just fade, it shattered. In less than a year, the Sphere began to fracture under immense financial pressure. The shows stopped selling out, the advertising gold rush slowed to a trickle, and the crippling operational costs, a monstrous hidden beast, began to dwarf any profits. This thing they once called humanity's greatest leap in storytelling has devolved into a festering financial wound, bleeding out nearly $500 million in its first disastrous year alone. That Sphere, once a shining beacon of rebirth, has devolved into a grotesque monument to an ambition that has catastrophically outstripped reality. While its light still pollutes the night sky, down below, the shadows it casts are deeper and more menacing than ever. A chilling omen of the Vegas dream's utter fragility. A warning of the disasters creeping in to consume a city that once boasted its magic was eternal. When the very icon meant to resurrect Vegas becomes the dead weight dragging it into the abyss. What hope is there for this city to ever reclaim its glory? Or is that garish light nothing more than a cheap mirage? A flickering reflection of an American dream already dying in the desert? Join us as we plunge into the heart of this debacle to expose how a supposed technological marvel twisted into a monster, voraciously devouring the energy and the very soul of an entire city. Who could have possibly imagined that the blinding light and audacious vision of the Sphere would extinguish itself so catastrophically fast? For a fleeting few months, the illusion held. The media frenzy was deafening, the seats were filled, and the investors were drunk on their own hype. But just behind that shimmering, deceptive curtain, a brutal reality began to claw its way out. Astronomical operating costs, predatory contracts, and cratering revenues twisted this so-called dream into a financial death spiral from which there is no escape. If only we had a real-life contraption to zap this monstrosity out of existence before anyone else has to witness this billion-dollar blunder. They'll tell you about the U2 residency, their one supposed triumph. 40 sold-out shows, more than 700,000 tickets gone, and a mountain of revenue, it seemed. But here's the sickening truth. A staggering 90% of the profits walked right out the door with the band. The Sphere was left with a pathetic 10%, a pittance that couldn't even begin to cover the colossal daily bleed of its electricity bill, let alone maintenance and operations. It's a tragic irony. A monument to advanced technology being slowly strangled to death by its own complexity. And don't be fooled by the slick 3D ads. Inside, the experience is a sham. Huge sections of seats have their views completely blocked by the overhang of the roof, utterly shattering the promised 360-degree immersion, even as they gouge you for hundreds of dollars a ticket. And their brilliant follow-up to U2, they dug up Dead & Company, and then the Eagles with Hotel California. Every single one a legend, yes, but legends who are all over 60 years old. The problem isn't their age, it's the catastrophic disconnect. They possess zero pull for the younger crowds this city desperately needs. This is the breaking point, a head-on collision between bleeding-edge technology and the ghosts of music past. And in the wreckage, the vital, beating heart of the present is nowhere to be found. Sure, the tech inside is a marvel on paper, a 16K by 16K screen, the highest resolution on the planet. But that marvel comes with a devil's bargain. The cost to produce content for it is obscenely, prohibitively high. A single 60-second video clip can take 2 agonizing weeks to render, making it a logistical nightmare to add a show or, God forbid, change the content on the fly. Every single event has to be meticulously programmed and locked in months in advance, transforming each performance into a high-stakes, money-incinerating gamble. As one visitor bitterly joked, the Sphere's only failure is that it was born too late to star in a 90s disaster movie. And that's exactly what it is. A colossal, expensive meme, utterly devoid of purpose. In a desperate attempt to cope, they built their own Big Sky film studio, complete with a proprietary 16K camera system just to feed their own beast. This genius move only sent costs spiraling further into the stratosphere as their revenue continued to plummet with each passing day. Think back to the early days of IMAX, hailed as the future, yet it only cost a few tens of millions of dollars to build a theater. The Sphere, however, devoured a mind-boggling $2.3 billion. This astronomical price tag makes the entire model impossible to replicate and fundamentally unprofitable. So, on the outside, it desperately clings to life by selling ad space. Every single day, that giant orb cycles through 3 or 4 ad campaigns, raking in a reported $450,000, all for just 4 hours of screen time. We've all seen the viral clips: One Piece, Formula One, and of course, that giant, inescapable minion, its most infamous advertisement. But that same light has become a relentless torment for the people who actually live there. One resident put it bleakly: "From my apartment, the sky is gone. All I see is a giant glowing emoji face staring into my window all night." This sphere, once championed as the very future of entertainment, now stands as a glaring monument to colossal waste and the dangerous technological delusion. Its light still burns, yes, but it no longer illuminates any hope. It's merely a reflection of the grotesque ambition and catastrophic errors of an age foolish enough to believe that money and technology could conjure miracles out of thin air. If technology was meant to be the savior for a declining Vegas, has it instead become the very parasite feasting on the city's soul? And when a light shines so blindingly bright that it erases all shadows, how can anyone tell the difference between what is real and what is just a beautiful, expensive lie, designed to make us forget the terror that's closing in? The age-old mantra of Vegas was a sacred promise: the house always wins. But this time, the house has spectacularly bet against itself. The high-stakes gambler, MSG Entertainment, has fumbled catastrophically, with its own first quarter 2024 report revealing an earth-shattering loss of over $104 million in just the first 3 months of operation. This brings the total hemorrhage of cash since its grand unveiling to a staggering, almost unbelievable $480 million. And its parent company, MSGE, is feeling the inferno. Their stock plummeted by a devastating 30% in the second quarter of 2025, and in a move that screams panic, the group's CFO bailed out after a mere 1 year. This isn't just wavering confidence, it's a full-blown crisis of faith from within. The American media has branded it Vegas's most beautiful money pit, the most dazzling financial black hole on Earth. The story of the Sphere is a twisted tale of utter, catastrophic contradiction. On the surface, the glowing orb puts on a brilliant hypnotic show, a mesmerizing cycle of global brands from One Piece and Coca-Cola to the roaring engines of Formula One. But peel back that glittering facade and you will find a chilling, brutal reality. The much-hyped global advertising revenue, a pathetic $15 million a quarter. That's not even enough to foot the astronomical electricity bill for the hundreds of thousands of LEDs burning through the night. A Nevada energy expert dropped a bombshell estimate. Just lighting this thing for 24 hours could cost a mind-boggling $1.2 million. It's a burn rate that is utterly unsustainable, a ticking time bomb, especially as the crowds of curious onlookers are already starting to vanish into thin air. Of course, the corporate spin machine is working overtime. MSG Entertainment desperately claims that if you just employ some creative accounting magic, the Sphere magically becomes profitable by $12.9 million. But analysts see right through this sham. It's nothing more than cosmetic reporting, a lie painted in spreadsheets. It's a desperate calculation designed to soothe nervous shareholders, not a signal of any genuine recovery. The brutal truth is that as tourists fled Vegas in late 2024, crushed by soaring travel costs, a domino effect of canceled and postponed events began, and the Sphere's once promising box office turned into a desolate ghost town. The vast parking lot, once jammed to capacity for U2 concerts, now hosts only a few scattered, curious stragglers, while the monstrous bills for electricity and maintenance keep piling up. And the crushing weight of debt grows heavier with each passing month. A maintenance worker, speaking in hushed, fearful tones, revealed the grim truth. Every single night, that Sphere lights up. Vegas loses money. Commentators have given this disaster a name, the mirage effect, a perfect financial illusion built on nothing but light and broken promises. Corporations gambled billions on a glittering tech idol, foolishly believing it could be the savior of post-pandemic tourism. But just like every mirage in the desert, the oasis of profit vanishes just as you get close. And when that insatiable corporate thirst isn't quenched, who pays the ultimate price? Not the investors. It's the workers who are swept away. The engineers, the cleaners, the servers, the very people who staked their hopes on a stable future promised by this glowing orb. The impending collapse of the Sphere must be a deafening wake-up call for the entire entertainment industry. This is the damning proof. Creativity cannot survive on a diet of empty, soulless spectacle alone. No amount of technology, no blinding light, no 16K screen can ever replace the soul of a city. A soul forged by real people and raw emotion. This was meant to be a symbol of Vegas's immortality, yet here it is, suffocating in the shadows of its own debt. Is there any miracle left that can save this hollow dream? And if every photon of light blasting from the Sphere is another dollar bill set ablaze, how many more nights can this city afford to burn before the light is extinguished for good? The Las Vegas Strip still puts on its nightly masquerade of brilliance, but it's a grand deception. Behind those illuminated windows, most of the rooms are hauntingly empty. Vegas only shines now in the carefully edited mirage of promotional videos. But beneath that glittering veneer is a city gasping for air. The self-proclaimed entertainment capital of the world, the global hub of spectacle, is now a silent witness to its own decay. Thinning crowds, bars shuttering their doors before midnight, and small stages going dark forever. The official numbers from the LVCVA don't lie. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority confirms that in 2025, visitor numbers plummeted by a disastrous 12% compared to the year before. Worse, average hotel occupancy cratered to a mere 69%, the lowest it's been since the dark days of the pandemic. That cold, hard number is the collective gasp of thousands of local businesses on the brink of collapse. It's the taxi drivers with no fares, the receptionists at empty desks, the chefs in silent kitchens that once served millions. But this rot goes deeper than just the economy. This is a fundamental crack in the very identity of Las Vegas, a city built on the sacred promise that here you could escape it all. But now, the great escape is dead. Tourists are fleeing, not from their reality, but from a city that is desperately trying to flee from its own. On Las Vegas Boulevard, the river of traffic has slowed to a mournful crawl, and ominous voids now fester in the once teeming hearts of the Mirage and Caesar's Palace. The streets themselves are crying out, with police reporting a staggering 15% surge in petty crime, while in their towers, the casino giants quietly took the axe to shifts and suspended the legendary buffets. They shuttered the small stages, the very soul of the city's raw entertainment. And now Vegas is losing its pulse. Its chaotic, spontaneous rhythm is flatlining. This was the very magic that set it apart from every other city in America. And now, analysts confirm this isn't a slump, it's a death spiral, born from a long and catastrophic series of unforgivable mistakes. It was a betrayal built on predatory resort fees, on gutting the human connection of its service, on a blind obsession with soulless, flashy structures over genuine human experience. When you rip out the soul of a city and replace it with cold machines, the emotion dies, and with it, every last shred of trust. But even in this self-inflicted abyss, a few of the architects of this disaster are feigning a change of heart. Caesars Entertainment and MGM Resorts are now desperately testing a so-called value tourism model. They're cynically cutting service costs, resurrecting the low-cost buffets they themselves killed, and partnering with the Visit Las Vegas Alliance to sell a fantasy of real experiences, real prices. They've been forced to learn a brutal lesson. No billion-dollar light show can save Vegas if they don't restore the most fundamental element: the feeling of actually being welcome. Tourism here was never just about the money. It is the culture, it is the lifeblood, it is the sole reason this entire mirage in the desert exists. And when that heart stops beating, no one will even remember why they ever fell in love with this damned place. The ultimate betrayal, Vegas, once the grand escape from reality, is now a city desperately fleeing from itself. What hope is left for a place when the very soul it was built on has been utterly forsaken? Or are we all just fools trying to keep the lights burning on an empty stage for an audience that has already gone home? Because beneath the blinding, hypnotic glare of the sphere, there are countless people that its light will never, ever touch. They hold no tickets to the grand spectacle, and there are no jobs left for them in the opulent machine they bled to build. These are the hands that polished the dance floors to a mirror shine, that hung every single light bulb, that tuned every note of the city's symphony. The very magicians who conjured the magic of Vegas are now forced to live in the shadows, the ones nobody wants to see. A man, now in his 60s, once a master audio technician for the biggest shows, told me he used to conduct the entire orchestra of light for this city. Now, his world is a cramped, aging RV parked on the desolate edge of the desert, where he tries to sleep every night. He confessed in a whisper, "I used to run the lights for this city. Now I'm just trying to find a piece of shade to rest." His voice was shattered, but his eyes still held a defiant flicker of pride. A ghost from a time when he was a god of light. I met a middle-aged woman who poured her life into the restaurant of a mega resort. Nearly 2 decades of loyalty before the hotel callously cut her loose. The manager's promise to call when things got better was a poisoned lie. That call never came. Now every morning she endures a torturous walk past the strip to beg for work, staring up at that glowing sphere and whispering, "That light is beautiful, but it's not for people like me anymore." This isn't just tragedy, it's a terrifying prophecy. The HUD 2025 report projects that homelessness in Clark County will surge by an apocalyptic 12% in 2025. And the victims? Predominantly the very people who were once the economic backbone of Vegas, the heart of its service industry. But look closer, beyond those cold, sterile numbers, and you will find thousands of human lives discarded and left for dead every time the stage lights dim. Many are now trapped in makeshift camps right beneath the multi-million-dollar LED gods where the sphere poisons the night sky. That soulless light reflects off the cracked windshields of their broken-down cars, the only shelter they have, as they huddle together against the brutal chill of the desert night. In a pathetic gesture of public relations, some of the corporate giants are starting to reconsider. MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment have announced the pilot program to rehire local workers over 50. They're even offering new skills training to help these discarded souls crawl back into the very industry that chewed them up and spit them out. Meanwhile, true heroes at charities like Help of Southern Nevada are on the front lines, desperately expanding shelters and support for the industry's forgotten. Their efforts, though noble, are but flickering candles against the suffocating, relentless darkness that is now consuming the strip. It begs a damning question. If the lights of Las Vegas shine only for those who can afford a ticket, then is there a shred of justice left for those who lit them with their entire lives? And as this garish American dream finally fades to black, who will dare to tell the stories of its ghosts? Who are the ones left standing in the shadows? No one in their wildest arrogance ever imagined that a single structure in the desolate Nevada desert could unleash a toxic shockwave felt as far as London, Singapore, and Dubai. But let's be brutally honest, when the sphere didn't just stumble, it catastrophically imploded. It dragged more than just Vegas down with it. It shattered the world's blind faith in the mega entertainment model, a flawed gospel America had so proudly preached to the globe. For the last decade, city after city fell for the siren song, desperately trying to clone the Las Vegas formula. They poured obscene amounts of capital into these integrated behemoths, clinging to the dangerous delusion that international tourists were an infinite river of gold. Dubai, even now, is mindlessly erecting the Frame Complex and a disturbingly similar sphere project on Blue Waters Island. A disaster waiting to happen. London was poised to build its own Sphere UK in Stratford with a staggering projected cost of over $1.8 billion. But then, the horrifying truth emerged. The Las Vegas Sphere was hemorrhaging nearly $480 million in just its first 2 years. According to the damning MSG 2025 report, the UK project was slammed shut, suspended indefinitely. The London authorities feebly refused the license, hiding behind the flimsy excuse of light pollution. But every investor knew the real, terrifying reason was buried in Nevada's catastrophic balance sheets. Bloomberg's intelligence analysts declared what we all feared. The sphere's collapse has cast a dark, inescapable shadow of doubt over the entire giant entertainment investment model. This is especially true in a post-pandemic world where people are starved for genuine connection, not hollow, ostentatious displays of wealth. And the contagion has already spread to Singapore. There, a $600 million digital dome theater, another vanity project, has been ominously frozen. One financial expert delivered the cold verdict. The Sphere's spectacular failure was a brutal lesson for international investors. Technology is a hollow god that cannot replace human emotion, and sheer luxury is no longer a guarantee of profit. Vegas didn't just lose a bet, it gambled away its credibility, and the painful lessons are now a plague spreading across the globe. Because when an American dream dies so publicly, the world isn't just a spectator to a failure. It's forced to stare at its own reflection in the wreckage. If the garish light of Vegas once pretended to illuminate the world, now that it's flickering and dying, who is foolish enough to try and rekindle a new flame for this bankrupt era of entertainment? And will the world find the courage to learn from America's monumental arrogance? Or is it doomed to repeat the same catastrophic mistakes under a different, fancier name? Vegas was built on the lie that light could vanquish darkness, that every failure was merely a prelude to some grand, miraculous comeback. But now, as the Sphere, the 21st century's most expensive monument to hubris, stands abandoned in the desert. Is that deluded dream even remotely believable? The lights are on, but nobody is looking up. Because what Vegas truly lost wasn't money. It lost its soul, the one thing that ever gave it a claim to immortality. And perhaps, like all dying legends, Vegas is now entering its grim final chapter, forced to confront the unforgiving truth that no magic lasts forever, and no light can shine eternally without a heart to believe in its glow. An icon that was supposed to save the American dream, instead became a dire warning to the entire planet. Should we fear its collapse, or should we be profoundly grateful that its downfall has finally shaken us from our slumber? And as the last pathetic lights of Vegas sputter out, the terrifying question remains: who will dare write the next chapter for this shattered American dream? If you know there are more dark truths hidden behind those fading lights, you must share this video. Force others to confront this reality. Don't just watch, like, subscribe, and unleash your thoughts in the comments below. Because your single question could ignite the critical dialogue America's future desperately needs. The evidence in this video was pieced together tourism data and piercing media analysis, all with one goal: to dissect, to critique, and to expose the multifaceted truth behind these socio-economic calamities. All data and citations are presented to paint a clear picture. The facts themselves are the accusation, with no need to point fingers at any single individual, organization, or agency. This video is not a political manifesto or financial advice. It is a warning against the very ideology that allows such reckless location or corporation involved. All of this is presented not with neutrality of the dangerous cultural tides